Do you like what you do every day? I look at this life and observe the major sequence of events that led me here. I've cultivated lots of good things that allow me to make YouTube videos and stay relatively low in my stress levels. Plenty of traps I could have fallen into. Many other options that paid more money for my time and attention. Only thing is that money is nothing compared to your time and attention. Time doesn't come back, no matter how hard you work for it. And whatever you pay attention to in life will grow in importance. See, I don't know about you guys, but I have a limited amount of time on this earth. You better have a good deal for me if you want me to spend my time the way you'd like. If you want a one-way ticket to Depression City, commit your precious time to people who have no problem wasting it. Growing up, I used to wonder why adults got so offended whenever they thought someone wasted their time. Now I see why it's so important. That biting feeling of looking at what I just spent the last 8 hours on and knowing I won't get to experience that time ever again. I know the pain of not being where I belong, having an endless list of tasks to make someone else richer, to have a dishonest mask forced onto my face for the sake of everyone else, to see that my very demeanor is not my own. Always having that thought of, man, if I didn't need the money, I would leave this place right now. The first customer service hellscape I found myself in was a place that shall not be named here. All you need to know is that it was food, it was pretentious, and it was disgusting. We were set on the border between decent residents and the sketchiest parts of town. We would get drug addicts walking in every day. I would hear the sounds of gunshots and women screaming in the distance as I closed up the patio at night. Dealing with hungry customers was bad enough, but our overpriced menu options didn't mix well with the destitute mass of people who would come in for rush hour. The management wasn't great either. The head manager tested positive for opiates once, even though he swore it was from a poppy seed bagel. Another manager was an unfortunate war vet who looked far too young to have the 10,000-yard stare. And many more were just plain creeps and weirdos, people I didn't want to be around. One time, I found a pair of panties just lying on the dining room floor, and when I went to the back to tell the managers about it, he said he'd give me $5 if I sniffed them. I was 16 at the time. Not that I was too innocent to know those kinds of things at the time. It's just a weird thing to say, especially to one of your younger employees. I later got fired for mouthing off to a customer during a particularly stressful lunch rush, and soon I knew the taste of plenty more occupations. Warehouse package handling, tying up 200-plus balloons for one-year-olds' birthday parties, selling newspaper subscriptions. The one common theme, though, was that sense of dread every time I had to start my shift. My current job is great for making YouTube. In fact, I'm writing out the script for this video as I'm working, on the clock, getting paid, and my employer's encouraging it. The first sign that I knew that I'd love this job was my employer basically looked at me and said, okay, there's nothing to do here, so bring some homework, bring a book. You have plenty of downtime. It was like a dream come true. Of course, I still have tasks and a uniform, and I have to be in a certain place at a certain time, but generally people leave me alone. Plenty of people would look at that and think, oh, well, you're just lazy then. Nope. The complete opposite, my friend. Jobs like this, where you don't have a manager breathing down your neck and pushing you to do everything you're supposed to do, sets the perfect stage for you to develop some damn discipline. I don't have to write this script. I don't have to edit these videos. I don't have to make the footage that you're watching right now. But I do. Unprompted, I'm doing all this work. And that is the exact type of work that I want to do. I want the kind of work that just flows out of me, whether I'm told to do it or not. The kind of work that one can look at and immediately recognize that I made. Not the kind of work that a company made and that I was simply a conduit for. The paninis I used to make may have been tasty, but this is fully me. Word of advice. If you find yourself in an occupation that you feel is completely controlling your life, find a job like mine. A job that gives you more downtime than not. One where you can do the job just fine while also accomplishing your own things. Once you find something like that, you may come to realize you don't have your own things, and that's a scary thought. Something that I've gone through, a dreadful feeling where all I would do at this place was just scroll my phone and then look up and realize, have I just completely lost myself to the jobs that I've done? Is there really no more to my person than the masks that I wear at work and the games I play at home? Even when I did sales, yes, I was selling things and making the pitches my own, but they weren't my own things. They weren't even my own words a lot of the time. It's scary understanding that you're not as original as you once thought. The only way to get that originality back, however, is to exercise it. And that's why I'm here, talking to you, encouraging you to find that thing that makes you uniquely you. I know it's kind of a woo-woo, wishy-washy concept to find yourself, but quite honestly, the two things that helped me do that the most were theater in high school and the sales jobs I had. In high school, I was a massive introvert. All I knew was that I wanted to play some video games, and all these adults were making me not play video games. I wanted nothing to do with anybody, especially not authority figures. To put myself on a stage and make a performance for people I didn't care about sounded like the hardest thing that I could possibly do at the time. And that's exactly why I did it. I was sick of being the shy introvert. I wanted to be like all those YouTubers I watched who sounded so confident and so happy doing what they did. It didn't help that wanting to be a YouTuber was basically the modern version of wanting to be a rock star at my age. I didn't know how to edit videos or formulate my thoughts into something interesting to listen to. Even now I don't think I do. But like I said before, you gotta take the ugliest foot and place it forward. No matter how slow you go, you just keep moving forward. And that's what I did. Even if the words weren't my own in theater, at least there were words coming out of my mouth. That's the kind of patience you need to have if you want to grow into something that you're not. Years later, I raised the stakes and got into sales. Now I had to convince people of things. Now there wasn't a perfect script that just solved every problem I ever encountered in the field. It was daunting for sure, but I was ready for a challenge. And in that challenge, I found the most personal satisfaction. First of all, the droning, depressing feeling that you get with most jobs is often replaced with a competitive, encouraging mindset, depending on what you're selling, of course. Secondly, sales will never not be a useful skill. I felt like I was doing something useful every single day I was out there. I put myself in sales because it was something I was scared to do. I didn't want to make a fool of myself or try and convince people of things or get past their objections and endure their frustrations. I wanted a skill I never had in school, though, the gift of gab. See, in sales, you're taught that you have innate limiting beliefs. Things like, oh, I'm not a people person, I'm just so awkward. And it was something I struggled with at first. It felt like I was lying. I didn't fit in with all these personable market directors or the cool and collected manager. I felt like a lifelong gamer nerd thrust into a high-octane sales environment. Little did I realize, I was slowly building the identity of a salesman through my habits. And it was glorious. Every time I turned a no into a yes, I felt like I did a no-hit speedrun of Dark Souls 2 in record time. One time I walked into a business. The manager took one look at my suit, knew I was a salesperson, and immediately said, whatever you're selling, I ain't buying. Well, of course you don't want to buy what I'm selling. You don't even know what I'm selling, sir. If you'd give me a minute to explain, I'll show you. You wouldn't believe how fast this man changed his mind. I felt like a superhero. 6 months prior, I would have been a stuttering mess if he told me that. I would have been so embarrassed and just walked out the door no problem. But thanks to all my hard work, I gained a bit of confidence. I knew this job wasn't the end goal for me. I knew how dangerous it was, and I knew how easily I could have gotten addicted to sales. But I also knew it wasn't the path for me. I even wrote it in my journal, just to remind me, no matter what, I will leave this company. And you know what? I'm glad I did. In my line of work, only 8% of people even made it. It was a high-pressure sales environment, especially for a newbie. But as my sales mentor liked to say, pressure makes diamonds. Thanks for being there, Nick. The salesman identity was definitely there, but the money wasn't, so I went to another sales job where the money was there. But the time wasn't there. Then I thought, well, screw the money. I gotta make YouTube videos and write some books, not sell the latest iPhone to the 10th millionth tired New Yorker with irate kids that day. I left my sales job for what I'm doing now. The identity of salesman started slipping away from my mind. But it doesn't mean I'm not a salesman. I could take something I own and sell it to someone right now if I wanted to. And that salesman identity would build up ever so slightly in my mind. Right now as I type this, I'm a writer and a YouTuber. And that's where my identity's going. Where am I going with this? I'm offering the perspective of how you spend your days. If you spend many hours of your day working a job you don't like, you'll likely adopt the identity of a person you don't like, whether you're aware of it or not. This is what makes things like habit and identity so powerful, yet so dangerous. Some people have been doing something for so long, their minds have no momentum to shed their identity. I'm lazy and I'll always be lazy. Some will blame their genetics and create self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm a virgin and I'll be forever alone. I'm sure you've heard that a lot if you're perpetually online like me. Even that little comment I just made. The only reason I see myself as an internet junkie is because I've been online a lot lately. These cycles and habits can go even further and have you developing serious disorders like addiction, anxiety, depression, and much worse. I know a lot of kids from my high school days who took the identity of the kid who wore headphones all day and looked down when walking the hallways. That identity has either been shed by them or has dictated their path. Some habits will invite others. I love to write, and I've made it a pretty big part of my identity, so writing scripts for YouTube was just a small step away. If you're wise, you'll see why habits and identity are good. Your identity can change at any time, no matter how deep you've gone. It ain't over till it's over. Everyone has a few bad habits, and I'm sure for a lot of people, one YouTube video won't fix that. In fact, no one will instantly fix their bad habit. It takes time. The moment I started going to the gym, I knew I had thousands of hours of sedentary gaming to make up for, that my dream physique would take a good couple of years, even if I tried my absolute best, and I'm still not there. Many problems take years to reverse, and that's where being patient makes a huge difference. It takes an understanding that once you're doing that thing, you are that thing. I'm a writer, I'm a lifter, I'm a YouTube creator. It's all the same. To deny these innermost yearnings would truly make me an imposter. It's okay if you're bad starting off. It doesn't mean you're an imposter. You're just trying something out. And if you end up not liking it after a while, fine. If it's not for you, it's not for you. I'm pretty confident I'll enjoy making YouTube though. I encourage you to find your own hobby, like YouTube. Something that lights the fire in your heart like it does for me. Just think of what you know best, what you like best, and imagine something that delivers that for you. For me, it's expressing my thoughts and sentiments to the people, stating my constant thirst for knowledge and stimulation, and making sick clips in the virtual world. Sounds like a fun time to me. To build an audience and have the attention of millions of people, imagine that many people caring about what you have to say. My last video got 90 views, which isn't a whole lot for YouTube, but imagine sitting in a room with 90 people and having to speak to them all, to keep all their attention and to resonate with them enough to listen through a 20-minute speech. The whole time I was making that video, I thought I was so edgy and no one wanted to listen to what I had to say. I knew I had things to say that people would disagree with, but I posted anyway, and it got a lot more views than anything else I made. If sales taught me one thing, that's the kind of thing we need to focus on. Positive happenings and why they occurred. If we can't recognize that, we can't recognize our true selves, our truest passions, not this conveyor belt hell that is modern labor, but something of our own doing, something that pulls you to chase it to the bitter end, something that makes you think, man, I'd really like to experience that before I die. Now it's time to ask yourself that question. What would you like to do before you die? Unless I have immortals listening to me, we have a limited time here, and it ought to be spent wisely. I wish you all luck in pursuing what you like to do every single day. Thanks for watching. See you next time.